Welcome back to 100 Days and Beyond. I'm Dudley Peacock, and this is episode 13. Today, I want to talk about one of the hardest situations a CFO ever faces. You are in the middle of a transformation. The old system is being wound down. The new system is being stood up. Data is being migrated, reconciled, sometimes lost, sometimes double counted. And in the middle of all that, you still have to tell the board every Friday whether the business will make payroll, whether the VAT will clear, and whether the supplier payment run will bounce. You are being asked to forecast cash when you cannot trust the ledger that cash is supposed to come from. This happens on every transformation of any size, and most CFOs underestimate it until the week they are in it. Today, I want to give you a three-model method that keeps you solvent through the bumpy part, and it will still work after the transformation when the ledger is reliable again. A ledger fails during a transformation for three reasons. Data migration is incomplete, so some receivables or payables sit in the old system and some sit in the new. Process changes mean bookings are hitting accounts that did not exist last month and may have different recognition rules. And the people who used to rely on the old ledger are now working with a new one, and they are slow, and they make mistakes, and they are tired. The usual symptom is that the ledger is internally consistent, but externally wrong. You can run a trial balance and it balances. You can run a bank rec and it reconciles. But when you ask the ledger how much cash will come in this week from your top 10 customers, the answer disagrees with what the sales team says the customers are paying, and both of them are partly right. A CFO who tries to forecast cash from a ledger in this state will forecast badly and will lose credibility with the board the first time the forecast is materially wrong. The first model is the one you build without the ledger at all. It is bottom up from operational data. You ask the sales team which customer invoices are paying in the next 4 weeks. You give them the list. They mark each one as confident, probable, or uncertain. You apply historical hit rates, 90% of confident, 70% of probable, 40% of uncertain. You sum the result by week. You ask the purchasing team which supplier payments are landing in the next 4 weeks. Same exercise, but more deterministic because supplier terms are usually fixed. You ask payroll, when wages, pay, VAT, and pension payments land. These are near certain cash events. The model is a weekly grid. Operational receipts in, operational payments out, opening bank balance, closing bank balance. You build it in a spreadsheet that you own personally as CFO, and you update it every Tuesday. It is not as elegant as a ledger-driven forecast, but it is always reality-based because it is built from the people who actually see the cash events happening. The second model is the one you build from last year's actuals. You take the monthly cash movement profile of the prior 12 months. You adjust it for any known step change, a new product, a lost customer, a known price increase. You produce a baseline monthly cash profile for the next 12 months. This is your sanity check. When the bottom up says January is going to be a £20,000 positive month, and the top down says January is usually a £50,000 negative month, you have a question to answer. Usually the answer is that the bottom up has missed something. Sometimes the answer is that the business has genuinely changed. Either way, the disagreement between the two models is the most useful signal you have. The top-down model stays broadly stable month to month. The bottom-up model updates weekly. When they agree, you believe them. When they disagree, you investigate before you report to the board. The third model is the ledger-based forecast you would normally run. You still run it. You still reconcile it. You still treat it as a source of truth for the pieces of the business that are not mid-transformation. But during the transformation, you treat it as the third opinion, not the first. It tells you what a stable, settled business would project. You compare it to the bottom up and the top down, and you use the discrepancies as diagnostic information about where the ledger is currently unreliable. After the transformation, when the new system is stable and the people are trained and the processes are settled, the ledger-based model becomes your first opinion again, and the bottom-up model retires to weekly sense check duty. That is how you know the transformation is finished. The ledger forecast stops disagreeing with the operational forecast. Until that point, the ledger is running in the background, not driving the decision. Three models: bottom up from operations, top down from history, ledger based in the background. You triangulate weekly. You report the bottom up to the board because it is the most reality based. You report the discrepancy to yourself because it tells you where to look. This is how CFOs stay solvent and stay credible through the bumpy middle of a transformation. And it is how the business survives the first 100 days intact. That's episode 13. Today was cash forecasting during a transformation. Why the ledger becomes unreliable. The first model, bottom up from operations, built from the people who see cash events. The second model, top down from last year's actuals as a sanity check. The third model, the ledger, running in the background until the business stabilizes, and the discipline of using the disagreement between them as your early warning signal. Tomorrow we are looking at ERP selection through a CFO lens. Why Sage X3, Acumatica, Odoo, and SAP Business One exist in that specific order, and how to know which one your business should be on. If this was useful, subscribe wherever you are listening. I'll see you tomorrow.